I am your host, Lia Dunlap, and you are listening to the Oracle on Purpose podcast, where we help intentional leaders clarify their purpose and next steps to create a work and life of significance.
Hello, beautiful people. How would you like to wake up, open your computer, and find $38,800 and some dollars and change waiting for you to click a button to deposit? Okay, does that sound amazing? I bet it does. Now, here's the thing about this. It actually happened. It happened to a client of mine today, and I'll explain in a moment how that happened. But what I really want to talk about is the importance of knowing your numbers. So many entrepreneurs and business leaders have a tendency to steer away from dealing with the numbers, right? That's not their thing. That's not why they got into business. And even though they have huge aspirations or financial goals, they still don't have the finger on the pulse of their finances. And that could cost a lot of money. I'm Lia Dunlap. I am the Oracle on Purpose, and I help guide intuitive leaders, businesses, owners, and entrepreneurs to discover what their unique life purpose is and their divine path to millions. Now, part of that path is knowing what the numbers are doing. What are the numbers in your business? What do they mean? How are they performing? What's working and what's not? So that brings us to our story. Now, this is a great story. It's a tale of joy, delight, and a lot of money. So if you are ready to find out what the story is and also learn about why we were able to capture this amount of money and bring it to her business and bring it into her bank account, most importantly, stick around and, tag a friend. Bring a friend over and let's chat about not only this particular story, but why it happened and how you, hopefully, or someone you know, can avoid having it happen to them. So here's what happened. We were working on her onboarding system. And part of what I do with all of my clients is I help them to track where they are with their businesses according to the goals, because we talk about their financial goals all the time. So we check in with the numbers on a fairly regular basis. And I ask my clients to open their books to me. Now, you might say, oh my gosh, I can't believe your clients do that. However, they trust that my goal isn't to judge or, give them any snarkiness about whether they're making millions or hundreds or tens of thousands of dollars. It really is just to see how they're progressing. So a client today and I got on the call and we were talking about the onboarding process, and I was helping her work through the flow of her onboarding, and we decided that we were going to step into her accounting program and look to see if we could add a piece in there to share a message about the onboarding process with her clients. And as we were doing so, I happened to see a notice pop up, and it had mentioned that there was over $38,000, $38,800 and some change, sitting waiting to be deposited. And it caught my eye, and I said, wow, that's amazing. That's great. And she said, oh my gosh, do you think that's real? And I said, of course it's real. What do you mean? And we looked into it a little bit more, and she said, it doesn't make any sense. And what we found out in the process was this was literally money that was sitting in limbo, that all she needed to do was click a couple of buttons, reconnect something in the back end of her business, and the money was deposited. What? Yes. Almost $40,000 deposited that had been sitting there. Now, here's why knowing your numbers, knowing what you're looking at, knowing about the accounts and what they are matters. You could literally be leaking money from all kinds of different areas when you just don't take the time to look. It can happen, like I said, because a lot of times people feel like that's not my genius, right? That's not where I'm good at. In fact, I just want to do what I'm good at. I want to do the part of my business that is my genius, is my expertise. Some people will say like, well, that's not in my wheelhouse, or I get frustrated and I overwhelmed by all the numbers and the charts and details and data, and I don't know what to do. So if that is you, I highly recommend you work with someone. And if you have a coach, that you talk through those numbers so you understand at least the minimum amount of that information that helps you to keep your pulse on what's happening inside of your business. Now, it is a little unusual that kind of an error, right, would take place. However, it was a simple problem that being left undone could have continued to make a real problem for her bookkeeping, and also obviously for the clients that thought they had paid, and there's all this confusion then in the background that these transactions hadn't been completed. So why do we need to know what our business is doing financially? Why do we need to look at those numbers on a regular basis, right? Some people, when they start out, they feel like I'm not making enough money to pay someone to take care of my money. And yet they're not skilled enough to understand how to take care of their money. And in that gap, a lot of money mistakes can be made that can really put you behind the eight ball. Aside from just like mistakes like I just spoke of, there are practical sides of what you have to do to keep your business running. There are people, revenue regulators, that need to have information from you on a regular basis so that you can make sure you're not paying extra fees and late fees or, any kind of things like that might happen. So here's what I recommend to my clients. If you are making enough money, right? What is enough? It depends on you. And you can set aside a certain amount. So let's say a few $100s a month additional. If you were to put that into having someone look over your books, so a bookkeeper even, that can help set up your books, make sure that all of the dots are dotted and the T's are crossed, and then walk you through how your money is going into the bank, through whatever credit processing format you have, and then, of course, where you can track those numbers all the way down to the person who paid you. You really should be able to walk all the way through that process, right? Just as a business owner, you should always be able to track that dollar coming through your business. Now, here's the other piece that's kind of important when we talk about this. What about what that money is doing? What I mean? If you bring money into your business, are you allowing yourself the time to decide where that money goes? Are you just paying bills randomly, whatever they pop up, just to kind of keep yourself at bay? And if you have that energy, what happens is you find yourself in a state of lack. And then you start putting your money into areas like, let's say a bill comes up and you suddenly just pay the whole thing, even though maybe it's a credit card and it's not completely due. And then something else comes up and you can't afford it because you just paid off this other credit card. There's not like, it's haphazard, right? There's not like a steady decision-making process and a decision to really manage your money and have your money work for you. So what is your money doing in your business? Which brings us to the most important thing. Are you getting paid? Are you getting paid? Now, I'll tell you what. I've been doing this work for 26 years. 26 years. And I know that I have come upon all kinds of people from all different areas of, business levels. So people that are working in a company, people that are building a company, starting a company up. And so often, the last person getting paid is them. Okay? That has to stop. I'm here to claim everyone should get paid. If you have a business, then you should be getting paid. And take it one step further, ideally, you should be getting paid first. So there's a program or a book or a process called Profit First, and I highly recommend you check out the book. I don't get paid to say that. I just know that in my own business and in the clients that I work with, when we institute that process, one of those problems gets solved, which is that the person who is running the business, doing all the things, putting their heart out there, putting all their energy out there, gets rewarded for their efforts on a regular basis. It becomes part of the business process, part of watching their numbers and using that money to support themselves so that they can continue to deliver whatever it is they're delivering in the world. And they don't feel burnt out, and they don't feel short-sheeted, right? And they don't feel as if they'll never get out from underneath all the bills and things that it takes to run a business. So remember, if you want to make sure that you make everything you can from the business that you're putting so much into, then you have to know your numbers and you have to keep an eye on them. And hopefully, if you get it all set up correctly, it's actually a lot of fun to see what happens when you get to track how your numbers are progressing. And if there is something going on, you can nip it in the bud and get your money back. All right, thanks for watching. I'm Lia Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose, and I encourage you to know your numbers.
Thanks for tuning in to the Oracle on Purpose show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you leaving a comment. Also, you can subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't yet. If you'd like to get clear on your highest vision and next steps, go to oracleonpurpose.com. See you next week.